YouTube, what am I doing up? And why am I making this video? Well, the Realist just posted a video, like yesterday, where basically he went into detail talking about KSI versus Egg Paul. And in today's video, I'm going to be going over the Realist's points, debunking them, disproving them, and more importantly, going over his comment section, which is the most hypocritical, most mind-bendingly no logic at all comments. So that's the video today. So this is a live stream. I can see one person's watching. I'm hoping the lighting is good. See if we can. That looks good. So I'm gonna be back here. So we're gonna go into the video, and this was his first point. I'll play some of the video, but I'm gonna just explain this first part. Basically, KSI said that Jake scammed everyone into thinking Ben was gonna win, and then the Realist said that no, everyone knew that Ben was going to lose and that Jake was going to knock him out in 2 rounds, and Jake was saying this, so how did Ben, so Ben was the one that was saying this, so how did he scam everyone else? You go to people like Kel Sanan, he's a UFC promoter, prominent YouTube channel. Sorry, a majority of MMA fighters, pro boxers, Dana White, so many notable people that said that Ben was going to win this fight. Guess what? They were all proven wrong. Because again, Jake knew that there's a lot of casuals out there who would not understand the difference between MMA and boxing. And it somehow blows my mind to say this, but I don't think even Dana White knew. Like Eddie Hearn knew. And Eddie Hearn said to Dana White, hey, Dana, like boxing and MMA, they're 2 different games. And your boy's going to get knocked out. So Eddie Hearn was the one that only made sense. And I feel bad for all the beef he's getting in with. But anyways, that's the first point. It's a minor one, but still. So then we're going to get into point number 2, which is, sorry, it's raining out. Oh, so he then says this. Hold on.
I mean, you're just not. You're just not going to knock him out, though, are you? Like, in reality, you couldn't even knock out Logan, and Logan was being like the most defensive boxer ever. Like, Logan just didn't go forward. You're just not. I'm telling you now, JJ, he will not knock out Jake Paul. It'll be the opposite way around. Jake will knock out JJ.
Wow, it's almost as if he can see the future. Wow, my mind is blown. I don't know about the one person that's watching this or whoever watches this in the future, but this guy, he's a fortune teller. He knows what he's talking about. This Realist being so snotty and up his butt about his own opinion. But anyways. Okay, so then
you said to everyone,
okay, so then this.
You said this the second time around when you fought Logan, and you said to everyone, "Oh, my fighting style is going to be different. Logan's not going to stand a chance." You was the same fighter. The only difference between the KSI and Logan first fight and then the second one was Logan was worse. You was exactly the same.
So different.
It's just not true. I mean, this guy should not be allowed to analyze boxing, talk about boxing, because he is such a casual and he knows nothing about the game, the sport, analyzation, criticalization. What he doesn't know is that with KSI, yes, he looked very similar / worse than he did in the first Logan fight. We all know this, right? But here's the key differences. One, his guard was way better. You can literally compare how he defended himself and the way he positioned himself from the first fight to the second fight and see how much of a drastic improvement. With the first fight, his hands were like this. With the second fight, he was guarded up, he was tight, and he always managed to have defense. And Logan was landing a lot of jabs that would have landed if, he had that same defense that he had in the first fight, but he didn't because he improved. He didn't have that great of a jab and kind of didn't have a jab in general in the first fight. In the second fight, it was snappy, it was quick. It was way more prevalent and powerful. I might even just do a little video post this live stream to show you my point, but I'm kind of doing this off the cuff, and I don't have a lot of time. But go back and watch the first fight and the second fight, and look at his jabs, and you'll see how much improved they were. And again, with KSI, unlike Nate Robinson and Gibb and Ben, yes, he swings wild, but there's always an objective, and that was the overhand right. Whenever he went wild, you will notice that it's always when he goes for the head or slash the overhand right. Like there was moments in the fight, like hold on, the Realist actually shows this in the clip analysis thing. So hold on. Hold the phone. It's coming up. I guess not. Anyways, well, there was a moment. Oh, there's another ad. This guy doesn't deserve ads. But there was a moment in the second fight when JJ was going for the body, making Logan go back, and then he went for the overhand right. It's like with JJ, his biggest flaw is he goes for the money shot. He goes for the overhand right, and he overextends. Now, and he got so wild because Logan was constantly running away from him, and he's also a lot taller. Like with KSI and Jake, he's not going to have to reach for the jab like he did with Logan. That's why he got uppercutted. Why would he need to do that with Jake? Because guess what? Jake is shorter than Logan. It's basic logic. It's like, anyways. Let me look at this this clip I want to show you though. Can't find it. Hold on. Okay, so this is the moment I was talking about. So see that KSI in this. Look at this. So this clip though shows KSI. Look at, he's going for the body, goes for the body again, body shot, and then he goes for the overhand right. But guys, when KSI settles down, doesn't get wild, and sticks with the game plan, when he was doing jabs to the body with Logan, when he was taking his time, giving himself a moment to think, he was succeeding and beating Logan. So if he can keep the composure and stick with the game plan, it is proven with the first fight and with the second fight that he's golden. I mean, that moment right there, you guys just saw that. KSI was not only winning on points, he was pushing Logan back, making Logan tired. He was doing everything he needed to do to win the fight. Period. And my whole point with this and with showing you that clip is that, well, yes, KSI is super wild a lot of the time. There is a reason why, and that's because he goes too much for the head. And that's his biggest flaw. And the Face Sensei spar, he kind of came out, but without the jab. And if anything, that's how he would probably lose it. Not by getting wild with Jake, but by simply coming out with lots of pressure and Jake getting him with a nice shot to the chin and then him falling and getting knocked out. That's how he would probably lose, not by going like this. And he wouldn't need to do that against Jake because Jake is actually going to want to fight him. Jake is a lot shorter than Logan. Unlike Logan, Jake will actually be wanting to fight him as opposed to going and running away. And thirdly, again, it's been proven that with smaller opponents, KSI does better. And let's be honest, Logan was a unique situation where KSI had to get scrappy with him and didn't need to get technical with him. With Joe Weller, KSI said, I'm going to box him to death. I'm going to use all skill. Exactly what he did. You look at the Gibbs spar, the Face Sensei spar, any spar that doesn't involve Logan, the Cal Freezy spar. Does he do this? Does he do windmills? No, he doesn't. I'll answer that for you. He doesn't. He only does that with Logan. I don't know how many times I have to say this to get it into you guys' head. He is not going to get wild with Jake the way he got with Logan. He might lose his composure, but it will be in a different way, and it won't be this. Because again, he only does that with Logan. With Jake, he knows he has to pressure Jake, but not get scrappy with him. He has to get technical and be very aware of his defense and his what he's doing and what objective each punch is instead of just kind of going crazy. And again, KSI could go be reckless because Logan was allowing him to be reckless. Jake's not going to be. And it's been proven that with the uppercut in the 4th round, if KSI gets hit with a big shot, guess what he does? He clinches up, and because he has that boxing knowledge and that IQ, he's able to commit to a different plan. Anyways, I hope that made sense. But basically, the main point of that point was that when KSI, goes to his original game plan, he doesn't go for the overhand right. He breaks you down, and he does what he's supposed to. He goes for the body shots. He was winning, and he was golden. So it's proven that when KSI has a moment to think, and he sticks with what he should be doing, he's golden. And that's exactly what happened to Faye Sensei. He was headhunting too much. He was getting clipped. And then eventually he went to the body, broke him down, and boom, Faye Sensei was done in a round. And again, people are like, oh, well, KSI doesn't listen to Vidal, and Vidal will hit him. And I'm like, no, KSI doesn't not listen to him because he has a big ego. He doesn't listen to him because he has a hard time adjusting and going from one thing to another thing. And that's because he's at a slower pace and learns slower than Jake. And there's nothing wrong with that. But I think I want people to have that exact thoughts, that perception that they have of he doesn't listen because of his ego is completely wrong. But moving on to the next point. So, so hold on. Oh, okay. This is a great point. Amazing.
Doesn't mean he can dictate.
People tell me to not bring up the past. How many times is he going to bring up the fact that Jake ducked him? You're not even making like a valid point. Like, it wasn't serious. Like, it wasn't a thing back then of like the whole YouTube boxing. Like, no one knew what was going to happen. Like, stop going back to that point. That's the only argument you've got. Just say you can't fight Jake right now because he'll drop you. Just say that.
Hey, when we fight, because when I called him out, he aired me. Oh, he didn't air me. He told me to fight his little brother or his little Jake Paul guy. I don't know.
Instead of fighting Jake Paul, why not box mini Jake Paul?
Or Greg Paul and all that bullshit.
Again, you're talking about something that happened about 3 years ago. It's not relevant
It
now.
doesn't show who's a better fighter.
And yes, he might go, oh, I'm above KSI. I'm ahead of him. No, you're not, bro. I'm still bigger than you.
No.
Okay, so let's break that down. So he says it's not relevant to not bring up the past, but it is super relevant because people are like, well, why is KSI taking so much time with his music and not going right to it? And that's because why would he allow Jake to dictate when they fight when he gave him 2 chances 2 years in a row to fight him and he rejected both times? He's doing his music. He's doing what he wants to do. So why would he drop all of that because Jake's ready to fight him because he suddenly has confidence? And to say, oh, well, this thing, no one knew what it was, and no one took it seriously, and Jake was probably just doing this for clout, and, all of this just made up excuses. And someone in the comments said this would be an unfair matchup, and 2 people said this, it would be an unfair matchup because, KSI had been boxing for a year, and it would be served to JJ on a silver platter, and Jake didn't have enough experience, and like he wouldn't have a good enough diet, and he wouldn't have enough time to catch up. I'm gonna debunk all of this right now. KSI has been boxing since September of 2017, 18, 19, 20. That's 4 years this year. And when he called out KSI when KSI called out Jake and Logan, that was in February, March. So that's September, October, November, December, January, February. That was like, what, 6 months of training? Like, not even 10 months had he been boxing. He hadn't even been boxing for a year. But go to his YouTube channel and you will see what I'm saying is true. He started posting about his boxing back in September because Joe fought Malfoy in August. So to say that KSI had this huge advantage, he only had a few months ahead of them. And like from the time he called them out in March to August, that's March, April, May, June, July, August. That's basically 6 months for them to train. It's like, how does this make sense? And what do you mean people didn't take it seriously? It was an undercard. It was a YouTube event that people took seriously. that was covered by mainstream press. Everyone knew what this was going to be. Everyone knew what this was. This wasn't about clout chasing. I don't understand this logic, because you know why? It's not logic. It's excuses. And you know what? People are like, well, maybe he is right. Maybe this isn't relevant. And it's relevant because Jake Paul said, I'm a the P word, but he basically called him like, I'm scared of you, KSI. I'm not going to fight you. And what's interesting is that Jake said MMA proves who's a real fighter, yet he won't fight an MMA fighter in an MMA fight. And if he thought MMA was a real fight, why didn't he do MMA with Deadly? You see what I'm saying? He ran away from the fight that was challenging and that made sense and that might actually afforded him an L, and decided to pick on the smaller, weighed less, shorter, didn't train as hard, less threatening, Deadly, because Jake is a coward and he runs away from the big fights every single time. And we know this. I know you know this, Realist. I know all of you fans know this. So get over it. And the reason why this is still relevant is because KSI has the right to say no to Jake for as long as he pleases, because that's what Jake did. He said, Jake, want to fight on Twitter in 2019? Jake didn't even say anything. And it was after Jake said that KSI was so bad at boxing on Impulsive. And then he said, oh, I'm not going to fight KSI after he fought Joe Weller because Logan was going to box him. But the talks for the rematch had stalled. So, hey, put your hat in the ringer, Jake. It's like, bro, you had 2018 and 2019 to fight him, and you both said no. Both times. The second time, you didn't even say anything. You just stayed silent. It's like, this is all relevant because if Jake is going to make KSI wait 2 years, wouldn't it only make sense for KSI to say, no, you're going to wait 2 years and I'm not going to just drop everything because you now feel confident in boxing because you boxed two guys that are middle-aged, past their prime, NBA athlete, fighter in name only, Ben Askren and Nate Robinson. Like this, it doesn't make any sense. Of course, this was serious back in 2018. Like, it's just an excuse. And maybe if I'm hope this is coming off across good. I'm kind of going off the cuff off the women. It's really late. I'm trying to get through this as quick as I can because I don't have time to do this tomorrow. But anyways, tangent.
Jake is a way better boxer. He's proven that. Jake is actually like in shape. So carry on.
And what's funny is that Realist says that Jake is a better boxer. And I guess that's kind of true, but it's like, listen, if you beat up one of the worst YouTube boxers in any Son Gibb, an undertrained Deadly, Nate Robinson, who never boxed before, and Ben Askren, who never boxed before. And you know what's weird is Nate Robinson, Ben Askren, yes, elite athlete, pro fighter, fighter, but had the boxing skills of a YouTuber. So Jake has fought basically two more YouTubers, and he's not fought a real fighter. Skill level wise, Logan and Joe Weller look like Mayweather compared to any of Jake's opponents. And to be quite honest with you, Jake doesn't look as great as everyone hypes him up to be. It's just because he manipulates and deceives you into thinking a certain way. But again, I made a whole video on that and I went to greater depth. But, if you want to check it out, you can check it out. But anyways. And then they talk about Connor for a minute.
It's almost like he's trying to say, like, Deji's just shit. Like, I don't know, it's weird. It's like he's just talking down on Deji.
Oh, so then he mentions Deji and says, okay, so I was talking down on Deji. And I mean, he kind of was, but like, can you blame him? I mean, Deji undertrained for the fight. He didn't live up to his potential. He looked like someone who had just gotten off of the couch at the weigh-in. I mean, he looked as good as Ben Askren did, probably a little bit better. But still, it's like, he kind of can. I mean, I know that people are like, oh, don't set off the beef. And it's like, it's not that deep, guys. Like, it's such arbitrary things that they pick on because they just want to try and pick at every little thing that he says. But anyways. So, and then they just talk about Deadly.
That's how you messed up. And the reason why you beat Logan.
Okay, hold on.
You were a bad boxer.
Bro, I'm not going to just stand there like this, okay? I know why I fought against Logan, bro. I'm not going to say too much, but I know why. And I said...
Yeah, you messed up because you were a bad boxer. You just ran forward, swinging your arms everywhere. That's how you messed up. And the reason why you beat Logan is because Logan was too scared to throw a punch or to even go forward. Like, I'm not going to say too much. Bro, You didn't even. Yes, you beat Logan, but you proved to everyone that you are not a good boxer.
They fucked up like I lost. I beat Logan.
Again, is Jake a good boxer? No. Is Logan a good boxer? No. Is KSI a good boxer? No. None of these guys are good boxers by boxing standards. YouTube standards wise, yes, they are, technically. But again, I'm not saying KSI is a good boxer, but he can box without throwing his hand like windmills. And that's why I say go back to the sparring. And even that was back in 2018. So he's a lot better now than he was in 2018. But if you go back to those, he's actually, like, if those were actual events, people's whole perceptions of KSI would be different. Like, if he fought Gibb, if he fought Vicente, all these guys that he did great in sparring with, and he boxed them professionally, everyone would have a different opinion on him. And that's because they don't want to admit that they know that KSI can actually box and not scrap, and he knows how to punch without throwing windmills. And when he throws those windmills, there was an objective and there was power. And if he hit Logan with one of those, he was going to go down. Where someone like Nate and Gibb went like Nate literally just went like this. Like, bro, nothing that Nate Robinson did or even Gibb did hurt Jake because they weren't exerting power from their legs / what having an objective. They were just trying to survive. They were just trying to hit whatever they could. I mean, it's incredible to believe that he's a bad boxer. Like, no, he's not. Like, he did stuff in the second fight that looked better than he did in the first fight. And he had moments where you were like, oh my God, like if he did that the whole fight, everyone would be like, KSI, you're actually decent at boxing. And he would also have an easier night. He just let emotions get too much to him. He lost his composure. And again, he wasn't nervous. I mean, you look at the behind the scenes, he was like calm, cool, and collected. He was ready to win. He just went in with the mentality of, I'm going to rip your head off and use calculated insanity. Was this the smartest ability? No. Was this the smartest thing? No. And I think the bigger flaw there is that he just doesn't break someone down. He goes headhunting, and if he's told to do something new, he'll kind of resort to bad habits of just going for the head or going for the money shot or, not being able to do what he's told like that. And that's his biggest flaw. And that's what would get him would probably make him lose to Jake, not going like this. And that's just my personal opinion. But all those things can be fixed. It's not like you are changing his whole fighting style, which is what a lot of people think. And that's not the case. I mean, if you look at his sparring and you look at his boxing fights, it's like two completely different guys. He knows how to box technically, and he proved that with Joella. And even though Joella didn't hit anything, still in front of millions of people and hundreds of people in the crowd. So that's all I'm going to say. And again, Staples Center, Manchester Arena with Logan. But again, Logan was a very specific situation where he had to scrap him. With Jake, he's going to fight him. So, but anyways, and yes, I did see the Andy fight.
I knew I could do more than Jay's just.
How the tables have turned.
Okay, so then he says how
So JJ's willing.
So basically, he then says, oh, JJ's now like not the A side because he's willing to fight another man. And this is what I've been telling you all along. Listen, is KSI the A side right now? Well, no, because he's inactive. That's the whole reason why. If he was active, he'd be the A side because people like him more. He would probably take on more challenging, exciting opponents. And I think people would see what I see in him, which is that he's better than everyone gives him credit for. And he takes on more challenging, exciting fights. Thirdly, and let's also not forget, he sold out the Staples Center. He sold out the Manchester Arena. 2 of his fights did over 1 million pay-per-view buys. And he's made crazy, like, stupid money from boxing. And again, even if like KSI, like listen, with KSI, he needs to make a name for himself in the sport. He needs to get viral knockouts. It's gonna happen. And also just for his own good, he needs to have other fights. And this is a whole plan that they have, guys. Like this is all manufactured in a way. Like of course KSI is gonna fight another guy. Like, such a surprise that he laid this on us. Like, no, we knew this. Like KSI's gonna have at least a couple fights before Jake, and that's going to happen. And you will see what I see, and I'll either be proven wrong or I'll be proven right. I think I'll be proven right, but if I'm proven wrong, I'm proven wrong. If KSI was active, I'd really doubt he'd be A side liking. More has nothing to do with, to be honest. Well, at the same time, so many people hate Jake Paul that if they saw KSI as the guy that could potentially beat him or be one of the only guys to beat him, they would probably all support him. You know what I mean? I could totally see a whole stadium of UFC fans being like, "We love you, KSI. We love you, KSI." Like, imagine if he beat Jake Paul. The UFC's gonna love him. Dana White, Conor McGregor, they're gonna be giving him love cards. They're gonna be sending him free tickets to their events. He's gonna be seen as a king if he beats Jake. So if he beats him, man, it's he's gonna be bigger than even Jake is right now. So
To fight
oh,
opponents, but Ben Askren called out Jake, and
so then this is the
Jake
next
showed
point.
the opponents he had, like Nate Robinson called out Jake, so Jake fought him. Ben Askren called out Jake, and obviously Jake was trying to fight Dylan Dennis and a few other people, but the only person that was actually like down to do it was Ben Askren. So can you trust Jake? If he's telling the truth, he hasn't handpicked his opponents.
How many people have let this happen?
He has handpicked his opponents. Deadly, he handpicked. I mean, we know this. Gibby didn't, so we give him that. Nate Robinson called him out. No one was pressuring Jake to fight Nate Robinson. I didn't want him to fight him. Why would he want to fight someone that who's got no boxing experience, has never had a boxing fight? And while people will be like, well, Nate was hitting pads, it's like, okay, but were you in a fight? No, you weren't. So I just don't get that logic, basically. And like, he fought him, and it was a one-sided bloodbath, and it's not like Nate showed any promise. He just looked terrible. And with Ben Askren, yes, Dylan Dennis called out, but that's because he had surgery. Michael Bisping just didn't want to do it. However, the one that we all wanted was Dylan Moran, who Conor McGregor said gave him a hard time in the boxing ring, and that he said was a exciting Irish prospect. That was a pro boxer who had, yes, box guys that had terrible records, and when he got and people say, well, he might have a glass chin, but still, it made sense because imagine if Jake beat Conor's toughest sparring partner. He gets that Conor fight like that. That storyline works, and it would do bits and would do numbers, and it's like he ran away from that fight. That's the fight we all wanted to see that actually would prove him and his credibility and his validity, and it made sense with Conor, but no, he picked Ben Askren. And now, again, people want to fight Tommy Fury. He doesn't want to fight Tommy Fury. And again, people will be like, what, you want to fight Anthony Joshua? The kid's just starting out. And I'm like, listen, where is the logic in, okay, I have the skill level, and he has said this, BJ Flores, his coach, has said this, Jake has the skill to beat Conor in 2021, but oh wait, he doesn't have the skill to beat Tommy or Dylan. No way, no, that's too much for Jake. Where's the logic, bro? If you're gonna talk the big talk, walk the walk. Talk the talk, walk the walk. If you're gonna talk a big talk, back it up by fighting good people, because you have put our expectations up to here because you hype yourself up so much and you say, I've sparred over 200 people and I've had basically 60 to 70 amateur fights and I'm fighting these pros and knocking them out, and these people are underestimating me. And I'm like, okay, well then fight someone good. And also, I think he's good enough to fight Tommy Fury. I think KSI is good enough to fight Tommy Fury. And unlike Jake, who just thinks that Tommy wouldn't do numbers, KSI was like, I'm not going to fight Tommy because I don't think I'm good enough for him. And that was, he doesn't have an ego, which disproves the realist logic. UFC wants to support KSI because he is KSI. It's because they just hate Jake. So in what way Jake is the more important one? Dylan would not do numbers. His fights would just his place. It doesn't matter, man. It doesn't matter. Jake Paul would bring in numbers. And again, at the end of the day, Jake Paul, is it either business or is it credibility, validity, which seems to be the more important thing for you, yet you still somehow want to make as much money as possible. It's like, it doesn't make any sense. And it makes sense for Conor. Like, if you want to get to Conor, you have to fight Dylan Moran. Or if you want to just prove your validity, like Tommy Fury is huge in the UK. It's like, yes, it's all about business, but it's like in boxing, you might have a fight that's against somebody no one really knows about, but it would prove your worth. And isn't that more valuable than maybe getting 1 million pay-per-view buys? Dylan would, Jake hyped himself up, but Cloud is still a factor. Usman called him out, and Jake accepted. DC wanted to fight Jake, and Jake accepted. It's just the fact Dylan and Tommy don't pull more numbers. And again, that's just not true. I mean, Tommy Fury's not huge in the UK at all. His promoter sucks booty. Tommy Fury has like 3 million people following him on Instagram. He's huge in the UK. We're in the US, so we don't know about him. And again, Tommy Fury would bring in numbers. I mean, listen, you have people on ESPN, the biggest people in boxing, wanting him to fight Tommy Fury. If you go to the polls, it's either Tommy Fury versus Jake or KSI versus Jake. Those are the two fights people want the most. It's proven that people would buy this fight. It's proven. If Jake Paul versus Ben Askren could do over 1 million pay-per-view buys, Jake Paul versus Tommy Fury and Jake Paul versus Dylan Moran can do at least over 1 million, or at the least 1 million. It's like people want to see. People don't care about who Jake fights. They just want to see him fight someone good and challenging. And everyone would be so hyped for Tommy Fury. The hype when the momentum was there, and Jake's just killing it. And he's gonna fight Dylan Dennis. It's all, again, this is all about Jake's strategy. And it just doesn't make sense. Because, okay, putting the numbers aside, how can you think that you can beat Connor, but you can't beat Tommy Fury and Dylan Murray? Like, there was no logic there. That just shows that you're not confident and that you're lying and that you're fake, which is what we expect from Jake. And for Realist to say that he doesn't cherry pick is just the complete opposite. I mean, KSI doesn't cherry pick. He went from Joe Elliott to Logan Paul. Those are, like, no one would want to go to Logan Paul. That's not a cherry pick at all. Anyways, let's go back to the video. No, my boxing gym and even Discord UK members didn't know Tommy. Also, they don't want to see Jake versus Tommy. They want to see Jake versus boxer. It could be any boxer, and it just happened to be Tommy. Again, Tommy Fury and Dylan Moran, business-wise, okay, it would do numbers. I know that. Like, again, social media wants Tommy Fury versus Jake Paul, and they wanted Dylan Moran versus Jake Paul. And who cares? And you know what? These events always do numbers. Like, if Jake Paul, Logan Paul, KSI, whoever they fight, it will bring in numbers. They'll get revenue. They'll get. It's not like he's not gonna not make money. It's not like he's not gonna get a successful event. Maybe it won't be as heavy production value wise, but isn't it more valuable to fight someone and prove your worth than having an easy one-sided bloodbath? You know what I mean? And again, numbers aside, pay-per-view aside, revenue aside, Jake Paul versus Tommy Fury makes sense because of how Jake hypes himself up. And most people will be like, oh, well, Jake doesn't actually believe it, but he does. He does believe that. And his downfall will be him thinking, because I beat Nate Robinson, Ben Askren, I can beat Connor. And he'll get laid out in 2 seconds, in 2 rounds, in 2 minutes. So Jake Paul versus Tommy Fury or Dylan Moran are fights to make. They make sense storyline wise. They give the people what they want. Those fights would do numbers. They would do revenue. And at that point, again, the revenue, all that stuff, it doesn't matter. It's about if Jake wants to really be in this fight game and he wants to prove his worth as a fighter, he'll understand that maybe having smaller pay-per-view numbers but being able to fight someone that really proves your validity and silences people like me is more worth it. But no, because more about the money, because he's an egocentric maniac who loves money. That's what it comes down to. And he doesn't want to take on a challenge. He went away from KSI, he went away from Dylan Moran, and he went away from Tommy Fury. And KSI versus Jake Paul would have done amazing numbers, even back in 2018. I mean, he just won. He's a coward. He is the ultimate coward, and he's just. That's my opinion. It's my views. Jake would carry numbers so hard. Also, no one would know Dylan Moran. Also, if Tommy, so well known in UK, why was his fights with 50K views before Jake? Why do numbers aside? Because besides Jake delusional self, we all know it's all about money. Did you even know Tommy or Dylan even exist? Not even Fury fans knew he had a brother. I actually knew about Tommy Fury back in 2019, and then Dylan Moran, Connor mentioned him. And Dylan Moran even said, let's go into the Mayweather gym and just do Doghouse. Like, he didn't even want an event. It's like, again, like, it didn't even need to be an event. It's like, it's all about showing that, because if Jake actually was all about it and actually was confident, he would have had no problem with going and boxing Dylan Moran or just sparring with Tommy Fury. It just shows that he is a coward who runs away from the big fights that we want. You know, it's like, and listen, if you're not at that level, admit to that and stay in your own lane, because there's levels to this, Jake, and you're not at the level that you think you're at. And it's just I don't know. It's crazy.
And I guarantee you, again, no matter what JJ says he's going to do, he will crumble at the fight, and whatever game plan he has, it'll go out the window, and he'll just start swinging because obviously he just despises Jake. So don't expect him to be some amazing boxer when it comes to it, because he's more emotionally invested in this fight than Jake will be, and that's just how I see. That's just how I see it.
Defense.
And again, I mean, I already went over these points. He's not going to get wild. If he's going to get clipped, it will be because he got his hands down. Difference of opinions there. So, I mean, I can't really hate on his opinion, but, like, he's not going to be wild with Jake. Like, his wildness won't be this. It might be coming forward with pressure and then getting hit and then going down. That's how he will get. That's how he'll lose if he boxes Jake.
Didn't drop.
Like, he was crying because he did. Okay, this is as you gathered, he doesn't like Jake. Like you said earlier, maybe Jake.
Okay, so that's pretty much the end of the video, and then the Realist thought that KSI was the meme of him saying all the swear words was him reacting to the fight, but it really wasn't. It was the meme. But anyways, that was pretty much the video. So again, I disproved kind of a lot of his points. To say he gets wild with Jake is stupid, but saying his emotion might get to him ain't so far-fetched. That's what I'm saying. But again, I think that his emotions is what makes him lose his... He gets excited, I think. But I think that with Jake, he knows he can't do that. So, and then Jake faced DC Newman, who would kill Tommy and Dylan. Yeah, I mean, DC came up to him. It's only Jake initiated that, and Usman, I don't know why Jake would call him out, because I think I don't know why he would do that. But and then there was this guy called Eddie Can't Have My Wife. This is his comments, and he kind of was saying, the points I was making about Jake fighting Tommy. And basically kind of making excuses for Jake. And basically kind of defending Jake. But I kind of already went over the points that he made. And the gist of it is, again, the only reason why people like me expect is because we expect so much from Jake because of how hyped up he brings up, how much he hypes up his skill level and the huge things he says. And again, that's for attention, but he actually believes that. And so if you believe this and you believe you have the skill level to be Conor McGregor, we expect more out of you. And if you say your skill level is at a certain level, we're good. And I think he is also a decent boxer. And I think I want him to fight a challenging person because I like seeing fights that aren't one-sided unless it's against someone I don't like. And I think Jake is ready for Dylan, for Tommy. And I want him to prove his validity and his credibility so that the conversation can be different, because we're repeating the same thing over and over and over again. But I want to make it clear that Jake is a coward and is running away from the fights that everyone wanted to make, which again was KSI, Dylan, and then Tommy. Usman called out Jake and Jake accepted. DC was talking on Jake. Jake clapped back and went to the winner, knowing well and how the MMA hates him. That takes box. It really doesn't, because again, Jake is so tough. He doesn't believe in being soft, I guess. And again, like, Jake's heard that so many times, it doesn't even affect him anymore. So I don't think he was really being courageous. It's like he did that. That happened in the UK press conference. That happened in the press conference in the first fight. Like, he's been through those exact same situations multiple times. So it really wasn't like he was being that courageous. But again, that's because Logan wasn't used to it. And Logan even said, I don't like when people scream at me and swear at me. But anyways, it's really late, 40 minutes. I'm going to end the stream here. I'm gonna do another video focusing on the Realist comments. It's just this stream went way longer than I wanted to. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. Make sure to like, subscribe, and comment. See you guys in the next video. Bye. But yeah.